Good morning, everyone. We'll go with one round of introduction of ourselves. My name is Daniel. I'm currently the Chief Commercial Officer at QTech Games. Prior to QTech, I was the Chief Commercial Officer at Real-Time Gaming. I was also the Head of Asia and Group Chief Commercial Officer at Habanero. And prior to that, I was from Microgaming as an account manager. So I've been in the industry since 2010, and mainly on the provider side of the business.
Name's Vladislav. I'm from Platypus Gaming, Chief Marketing Officer, and currently taking position of Chief Business Operation. So this is the company. Well, our company makes slot games, and I've been in the market in the industry for 8 years, starting from the Clarion, the event industry, running a number of events similar to this one, and now that we've been shifted. After participating in ICE, I moved to the gambling industry in a proper full-time manner. After that, there was an interesting time of having the experience of running with one of the largest operators in East Europe, and eventually coming further west to the Platypus as a gaming provider. And that's a brief story about myself.
Before I start by introducing myself, it's day 3, everyone's tired, everyone's having a hangover, so let's just keep this as laid back as possible. Let's try and have some fun and learn some things. So my name is Bhavesh Party. You can call me BP, it's much easier, British Petroleum. I have been in the gambling industry. I started off in the gambling industry with the illegal dens in Malaysia. I'm proud of it. I'm honestly very proud of it. I started from there, and I've been now managing director of an umbrella company, as Danny previously mentioned, managing several different brands throughout Southeast Asia and India as well. So I've been in the industry for 15 years. So yeah, so like the previous one is going to be a very laid back, it's a bit different format, so it's just us just talking, and let's start with Daniel.
Yeah, could we have the slides, please? So we have an interesting mix of people on the stage right now, and I think we can answer why localization is important, especially when you want to come into Asia from a different part of the world, and Asia not being homogeneous. We actually have different countries with different requirements. Sorry, can I have the slides? Can I have the slides up?
Technical difficulties. It happens. This is what AI will never be able to replace. So bear with us. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for the slides, Vlad, can you just tell us a little bit more about your company? Because I find game development very interesting.
Well, yes, the game development is an absolutely fascinating process because you get to learn a lot about things, and specifically when you're trying to localize content, as what we will be speaking about as well, that you get to learn the feel of that play that you're trying to showcase. That is extremely important, and that what makes a difference between a good game and absolutely fantastic game. So yes, at the Platypus, as I have mentioned, we make games, both slot games and table games, and each one of them have its own unique feel. So if we're talking about table games, the idea here is to try and provide that feel of real brick and mortar casino, and to provide the game as close to the real one and the experience as close to how you would feel it sitting by the table with a real life dealer without actually having a real life dealer. And with regards to slot games, it is exactly finding out what the customer wants in that specific area and giving them that. So the tricky part here is to understand whether the game will perform or not, but then again, it's a hit and miss. We do our best to properly research all the markets beforehand to know what are the major themes, what the clients are looking for, what our partners are looking for. So it takes a huge amount of research. So the game development process normally takes from 1 month, the fastest, to really 3 to 4 months as a standard procedure. Because to just make a game is one thing, you could draw animation in a couple of weeks if you're in a really hurry, but to understand that everything works smoothly and everything feels right is extremely important. And as I said, that's the difference between a good game and a great game.
I think they seem to have lost our slides. So on the slides, basically, we want to discuss from the different perspective of localization coming into Asia, from the provider point of view and from the operator point of view. From the provider point of view, basically, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. From the technical aspect, does your game even load in the country? You got to have your CDN set up. You got to have, and now the players are very demanding, so you got to have a very fast loading speed, lazy loading if possible. But first and foremost, get a CDN into that country that you're targeting, whichever country in Asia you're looking at. Players are extremely impatient nowadays, so if your loading time is anything more than 10 seconds, your game will never have any gameplay. I've got to remember my points off the top of my head because the slides are missing. The next thing you got to look at is maybe if you have extremely high game volume, do think about separating your game servers. Your RGS might have be one for each region, one for Europe, one for Africa, one for Asia. That's quite important as well. It's also about languages, currency. Do not just go in for a generic Google Translate. Get actually a thanks BP.
No problem.
So don't just go in for a generic Google Translate. You get actually a in-country translator for you, and because Google Translate might not translate it into the proper terms that gamblers use. So those are the small things as a provider you should look at to localize for the market you're targeting. Currencies is a tricky one. Currencies, you can do the currency, but your math model might not work. I assume that a lot of the developers out there, a lot of the providers out there do a basic math model that is in like a USD or a Euro level. That doesn't multiply well into funny currencies where it's not just in the tens or thousands or 100,000s multiplier to the USD. That's actually very straightforward. You're talking about weird division like maybe the Indian rupees, pesos, Filipino pesos, where the math doesn't work out well in terms of the conversion. So your mathematician will actually have to look at it and say, if we're really targeting India, we need to do a table game, a slot game, or even live dealer where the math makes sense for that market. So a generic put it in an Excel and convert doesn't work. A generic put your language on Google Translate and translate doesn't work. Putting effort into targeting the market that you want to go into actually repays you in the multipliers, because the players would actually see you put in effort. I want to play your game. Then now that's just the technical bit. There's also the intangible bits, the look and feel, the UI, the UX, the theme of the game is also very important. Gone are the days where players will just take any game you give them. Players are a bit more savvy right now. They do look out for thematic games that relate to them culturally. In India, you need Under Bahar, you need Tin Party. No, they won't play any other games, A lot of the Chinese players like Chinese team games, and that Chinese team games is cross-boundary into other Chinese communities in Thailand and Vietnam as well. So you can't just be like in the old days where Playtech and microgaming are the only dominant provider in the market.
Yes, that's right.
And you just have to take whatever they have. Right now, it's a buyer's market. You got to customize. And the last few bits on localization for the providers is when you finally decide that this is your country that you want to target, you need to set up a customer service team, account management team, sales team. Gone are the days as well when it's just trade shows and you fly in your team members from Europe or wherever and mingle and then you go back. Nowadays, they really require you to have a point of presence. So from the provider point of view, you need at least an in-country or in-region sales team, account management team that speaks the language, especially if you're targeting the Chinese market or the Thai or Vietnam market. You need someone in-country to manage those accounts, to manage that relationship. So it's a chicken and egg thing again, like, oh, they finally found the slides. Yeah. It's a chicken and egg thing. As a provider, if you're a small startup, it's a massive investment in the initial stage. But if you don't put in the investment, you might never be able to see the returns. So you remain small. We can go on to this. Yeah.
Oh, she's got the remote.
Thank you. Okay, so if you don't put in the investment, you might never see the returns. So then it comes to a financial decision. Do we take a risk? Do we do all this? Because you might do all this and you might still not see players. But I can tell you honestly, if you don't do all this, you don't put in the CDN, you don't put in the RGS server, you don't change the languages, currencies, you don't have an account management team in country, you will never see growth. So I'm not saying that just because you localize, you can see growth. This is from my personal experience on the provider side. But definitely not localizing, not doing any of this, it's very unlikely you can catch any market share in the slot and live dealer market, at least now in such a competitive industry. Vet, do you have anything to add? You're a provider.
Yes, you have covered everything perfectly. That is absolutely true. There are a number of points I will add on to. And those specifically one that you have mentioned is a bias. And there are two ways how you could look at it. There is a bias of the player, there is a bias of the provider. So from the player's perspective, when they play a game, as you have correctly mentioned, they want to have this feel of something that is familiar to them. Absolutely gone the days where you could just stuff the very special slot about book and everybody would play it. It's no longer like that. The players are more demanding. They want specific themes that cater specifically to them. And suddenly you could have a country that has very segmented player bases that look for different things. For example, in China, the rise of fishing games created a demographic exclusively for the fishing games, and they hardly play anything else. So therefore, for a provider who wants to not just stay on the market, not just be there somewhere down there below among everybody else, and want to really dominate the market, really want to be on the top pages, then they have to cater to that audience, because what the operators see, they see how games are performing. And if games are not performing well, they're not going to put them over games of that provider. And that is another part where the bias comes in. So from the provider standpoint, okay, we have teams of designers, we have teams of researchers who look into these themes. But these people are not there. They cannot get into the culture. They cannot travel around the world as much as they would like to, and that would be impractical. So therefore, they need a certain guidance, certain understanding, and that understanding is not something that can be gained by browsing online. That understanding can be only acquired from living people, from the partners. That's why our team has a lot of contacts that we are contacting and talking with from the operator side. We want to understand, okay, what the player wants, what you show on the main page not necessarily shows what the players prefer. Of course, it is a massive role. 70% of everything that the player is going to play is on the first page. That makes sense. However, there is this 30% that is still very, very important, that is also happen to localize in a specific themes, in a specific slot games. And even if your homepage have 40 different games, you can't say that all 40 of them will be extremely popular. No, maybe 30, maybe 20. And that is exactly where the communication come into play, to understand these tidbits. And these tidbits, as it shows, have been extremely important, as the company have been on the market also about 7 years now. So we see how the market is changing, and it's absolutely fascinating So when you look into the theme, there is so many things to uncover. Let's say the Asian thematics, yes? Let's say something very Asian, a dragon. Of course, we're not talking about European dragons, we're talking about exclusively Asian dragons. So from the top of my head, I can say, okay, so I can imagine this, a majestic dragon floating by. And then suddenly there are a lot more detail there that you can differentiate between Chinese dragon, Korean dragon, and Japanese dragon. I am not an expert on dragons, I do believe, but our teams have said that, okay, if we're making a game in Japanese thematic, this dragon has to have a specific number of fingers, a specific horns, specific mustache, and all things like that. And I was like, wow, I live in Japan for 2 years now, and I didn't know that.
I'm an expert on dragon. In fact, my surname is Dragon in Chinese. No, but okay, so to add to that, yes, that's the localization is very important, the different type of dragons between Vietnamese and Thai and Chinese and Japanese. But even if you do that, there's no chance of guaranteed success for this game.
Absolutely.
However, if you don't, and you have someone who's never seen an Asian dragon in Kiev draws it, it's not a guaranteed failure. You might actually do well in the game, but it's less likely that this game will succeed in your target market.
That is absolutely true. There is no guarantee for a game to be a huge success, a huge hit. Even these small details, they are small jumpers for when the game is already successful. They are there for the player to cling to it, to have this certain stickiness, to look into this game and on a certain time discover more and more about it that they could seen previously. And that is what we are striving to do, to have the games that have these specific catches, these specific scenes, and as the gaming market is going to progress and is going to evolve in Asia as well, arguably will it follow the European pattern where everything is becoming more and more globalized, and you could have say that there is a theme for Asia, or it will be more separated as it currently is. So there will be a specific niche for China, and whether this specific niche will be separating even more and more and more, well, that remains to be seen, I do believe.
Actually, I just want to emphasize to everyone in the room right now that the three of us here basically represents your online casino triangle. We have provider.
No, provider is the middle.
Yeah,
aggregator.
Developer. I consider him a developer. He will build the games. He will talk to Daniel from QTech.
Which is an aggregator.
They will sell the games to me like operators, and I will be able to give feedback to both of them what works in what market. So do remember there's a Q&A later. If you have any questions, this is basically Liquid Gold. Free consultation. Anything outside of here is going to be charged. There'll be an invoice. Anything here is still free. I learned it from a previous event, which I think is very good. So yeah, talking back about localization, it is, and I absolutely love that you brought up Google Translate, Daniel.
Yes. I've changed the slides to operators, if you mind putting it up. So you can talk now on the operator point of view, because we get BP, by the way, is one of our treasured customers on QTech. But he's got a lot of insight, and usually how translation works is a player will complain to the operator, an operator will complain to the aggregator will complain to the provider, and like, your translation's all wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, and the provider will be, okay, so where did we go wrong now?
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, I was talking about Google Translate. Even there are a lot of brands from Europe, from America, and from other countries. Asia is a hot pot right now. Everyone wants to come in. Everyone thinks, it's fine. I'll get a Google Translate. I can use now ChatGPT can even do translations. I can speak about 5 languages, and I know that all of this online translation services is hit or miss. So Daniel was also saying, Danny earlier and Alan as well said that you need local teams. Vlad was also mentioning you need local teams. So you have to keep this in mind. Don't stinge on this. You stinge on this part, you are 90% guaranteed to fail. I have been through that. I have been with my current company since startup. We were tiny and we went through all of this. We've sweated, we've cried, we've bled, we've fought, we've quarreled. And so, yeah, I can tell you, do not use all these things don't be stingy, hire a local team, find Alan, and Daniel as well. Vlad can help you design your games. So yeah, let's continue on.
Yeah, the slide is up for operators. So from the operator point of view, like, what do you think when you enter into a new market, and you have entered into several different new countries, what are the pitfalls, what are the things that you learn through mistakes?
How long do we have?
I think we have till lunchtime, that's it. So you got to be quick.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
well done.
like I was just mentioning earlier, the first one is you need a local team. Vlad was also mentioning you need a local presence to be able to learn the culture. There's a lot of slangs being used in different markets like Indonesia and Malaysia. Bet doesn't really mean bet. The word deposit could actually, even though it's English, it is understood like in Indonesia. But if you use Google Translate or you use ChatGPT, it will give you the proper Indonesian translate, and that doesn't work. So get a local team, and your loading speed, as Daniel mentioned, is actually 10 seconds. I think is too too much lah.
It's too much. It's
too
2
much.
seconds, right?
I would actually, in my experience, I'll bring it down to like 5 seconds. I would
Okay.
actually bring it down to 5 seconds. Anything more and be like, okay, press back and I'll play another game or something like that. And so I'm very happy to actually have you here as well. From an operator's point of view, quite a few developers are very, sorry, I'm using the term developer.
Please go ahead, that's perfectly fine.
A lot of developers are very straightforward. They say, okay, we've done our market research. We've hired the best consultants in the world, and we spend 50,000, and we know India likes swimming. And they'll start developing that. And then when we operators go back to the developers, say, hey, swimming doesn't work. You have to do something else, you know? You have to do maybe India themes, and then if you're going to have like pretty girls in the slots, the animated ones, they should be, you know, very themed towards the Indian market, towards their taste. So why do you think they are, especially the big developers, the big game developers, they don't listen back at the operators, even though when we've complained to aggregators, and aggregators will tell them they are so fixed on their...
Well, the answer is actually quite simple, yet a bit more complicated. I will just give you a simple explanation. So you see there is a fine line between what is called innovation and what is called what works. So the problem is that there is a certain pitfall, a certain self-fulfilling prophecies. So big companies think because they are big, everything they do is a success. Therefore, they are less incentivized to innovate. And as you have mentioned, yes, the Google Translate is not working, and heaven forbid you pick a very wrong name for your game that means something on a slang you really don't want to have your game.
Yes,
be
that's
called.
right, that's right.
That we almost got into it once, but hopefully we had some people to point that out. So that's why the bigger companies tend to tell you what they think is successful, and not listening to you.
Do you agree, Daniel?
Well, I used to come from one of the biggest from microgaming. I think the pitfall here is you hire a consultant. The two root words for consultant is to con and to insult your intelligence. They con you of your money and they insult your intelligence. Now, I was a consultant myself, but you need really to have market insight. You can't hire a team, and typically marketing consultants are not specialists in the gaming industry. So yes, they can tell you swimming is popular in India, and you might believe them. The other thing is a lot of these studios, they develop in a silo, and there's no internal communication. Having come from big providers and smaller providers, you know, microgaming was huge, over 2,000 employees when I was there, and now it's even larger. And when I was at RTG, it was huge as well, 1,500 employees. When I was with Habanero, it was a startup. There was like 10, 15 of us before we got large, before they got really large. So the working style is very different. If you have a team of 200 artists and developers in Derivco in South Africa trying to do games for Japan, they might not have any cultural contextualization of what's happening in Japan, what's happening in China. But if you have a small team, let's say Habanero, where we only have 50 people in the early days, the communication is a lot more seamless. You had me on the ground trying to break the market in Asia. We understood the teams. So it's really about establishing those lines of communication within a provider as you grow. even as you go larger and larger.
I totally agree with that. When I started in this company, everything was very easy. But as we grew to almost 900 staff, communications are getting lost, instructions are getting misinterpreted along the way. I mean, you have Jira and all of that, but you can only put so much meaning into your text in Jira. So yeah, I totally agree with you that communication is very important to keep it really smooth and keep it all very, very well done. Do you want to
Yes, with regards to communication, there is one more important aspect that I do believe worth mentioning is that you need to have a management team, a middle management team that really makes the magic. So I'm afraid I do not have time to speak to every of 600 of the clients or 1,000 of clients to see what they have, but it is going to be a frontline person who is the account management, and the account management is going to report to the senior manager, who is going to provide a report. Okay, so this works and this doesn't work. So it's like, it's like a consultant, but on steroids, yeah? So and that is extremely important. If you have a good person in place, this person knows what needs to be done, especially if this person is familiar with the industry. In my time of working for one of the operators, it was absolutely crazy. So we had a account team who had no idea what the slot games are all about. They're just like, okay, so what is the difference between the lines and pay lines again? So you need your team to be on the same page. Hopefully now in Platypus we don't have this problem, but in my previous team, another company, that was all the time. So the team that does not understand the player perspective, that does not understand how the game works, is not going to perform well, and they're going to create more problem for you.
So feedback would be from an operator is really important. So with touching on that feedback part, your customer service as an operator, your customer service is extremely vital. You need a really good customer service team. You need a very good head of customer service to manage them, and they are the ones who are able to get good feedback for you. And as the operator side, there's always a chain of command, which I'm against, but unfortunately that's how the world works. So when the customer service provides feedback to the head of customer service, he needs to prepare like a report, then he'll pass it to maybe his superior, and then it'll come to me, and then by the time it gets to I may not even be in direct contact with you, because like the big developers, they ain't going to talk to operators like us. I have to talk to people like Daniel, and then Daniel will have to pass it up the chain, and it takes a really long time. And then the developers say, oh, we can't do that. You'll go back to Daniel, then you'll come back to me. It's slow and it's very painful, but I think things are changing now, where we have noticed recently a lot of developers, they are account managers, even though we work very closely with QTech. Some of the developers are actually in contact with our own developers directly and our head of customer service to say, okay, we have heard from other operators or from people like Daniel that there's this problem with this particular slot game, and then they'll ask us. So I think that has cut down a lot of time, which I think is really good for the industry. So do look into, if you're going to set up a brand in Asia, you're going to set up an office in Asia, do make sure you have direct contact with people like Daniel, who is your aggregator, and also the developers or the main providers itself, so that communication is faster, you get things done faster, bugs are fixed, translations are fixed. So
yes, even to add to that specifically, yes, you are, BP, absolutely correct that the communication has shifted, and the communication now that we are going to have a dedicated team for account management who is going to run not 100 clients like it was before, but they're going to concentrate on 10, 20 or 25 or as much as they can carry, because that is very important. Our account manager is going to talk to your account managers or to your other sales, because you also need to manage your players, your VIP players and so on and so forth. And this communication is extremely important in both ways. First of all, for us to understand what we are doing, and the other things because we have information that might not be necessarily available for you. For example, we had an active case where the operator is asking us, okay, so what are the games that are popular in the regions? Okay, so we can give you a list of top 10s, but that will just give you that, the list of top 10s. And what normally our account would say, okay, but why do you need that? Where do you want to put it? So what do you want to have? You want to put it in this specific area? Well, in some of your competitors, these games perform better. Perhaps you would like to consider these ones. Or perhaps these games are much better for the VIP player. So we have one game that's called Dragon Element. It is not an extremely popular game for the majority of the players, but for the VIP segment, oh my God, it just performs like crazy. And we've noted that, and that's why, even though it can occasionally jump to top 10 just by sheer numbers alone, we always advise to the operators, okay, this is a kind of a niche game. It's good for, let's say, a higher payroll, but it is not very good for the mass market. So please do consider that when you're doing that. And this information is very crucial to you. Why? Because, well, you see the top 10, you see, okay, Dragon Summit, you just slap it on the homepage, bam, it's not performing well. Well, the provider lied to me, yeah? And it's not that, it's more complicated.
And just to add on the aggregator side of the business, so having been on the provider side of the business for over 10 years, now that I've jumped over to the aggregator side of the business, it's like my dream come true. I can finally see stats. Because when you are on the provider side, you only see your own stats. Now I've got statistics to compare across 70 providers. And how we answer a question like you is, if we have a provider that is a bit more arrogant, unresponsive, we will come to you, and it's just like fine dining restaurant. We'll come to you and say, maybe provider A isn't the best solution for you. How about trying provider B and provider C? And provider A will just dwindle away, not knowing why they have lost so much volume in this market. And that's the thing that we as aggregator value add. I know we might be just a reseller in some people's eyes, but a good aggregator actually helps you tailor the customization for you. Not just in terms of game requirements, actually. We tailor the service requirement, which is more important. We ultimately don't forget our role. We are a B2B. The players are not our customer. The operators are our customer. And if the operators have specific reporting needs, specific customer support needs, we have to find the right product to sell to you, not to your players. Your players are your customers, so we don't give a shit about them. We give a shit about you and satisfying your need as an aggregator.
Yeah, so basically you're in like the sweet spot. You're in the sweet spot in between all of us, and you can see the stats from all of us. So QTech has loads of operator clients. I am just one of them. And so like what Daniel just said, I can only provide feedback from my players, whereas Daniel is in the sweet spot to get feedback from all of the operators who have gotten their feedback from all of their own players, and they can feed it back to game developers and whatnot.
Don't worry, I got your feedback about desktops. I've got a feedback from BP in India, Spice, 2 weeks ago, that his main VIP, is about 25% of his player base, still plays on desktop, which is very surprising. That might contribute to all our desktop play in QTech. But a lot of the providers now, especially the European ones, they used to be, from 2 years ago, they said they're mobile first. This year, they're beginning to say they're mobile only. So they don't support desktop anymore, which is ridiculous, because there's still a lot of older generation players, probably all your VIP players, that still plays.
My mom being one of them, she uses desktop.
That still plays on a desktop. So this comes to sort of a localization. Like, do you want to alienate all these players just because your tech team decides, hey, just support mobile because it's too troublesome and too expensive to always support desktop?
Yes, and that rings especially true. So as Platypus, we also started, so we didn't convert, we actually started as a mobile-first developer. So our user interface was specifically targeted for the mobile. That was the first one that was updated. That was the first one that had all the changes rolled in. So but later in the I think it was, at the end of the pandemic, we also noted that the stats for desktops are changing rapidly, and we couldn't really grasp why. Of course, we see that we are losing some stats in this perspective. That's why we adjusted our mobile interface to let's call it a single seamless interface. You can play from mobile, you can play from desktop, and you'll see roughly the same picture, and it vexes absolutely our design team, but that's their job to adapt it. So the idea now that we have is that our games can be played from any device, and the user interface should be the same or as close as the same as possible from any device. You could play it from your laptop, you could play it from your mobile phone, you could play it from a tablet, you can play it from your TV or smart fridge. It still should have the same seamless design that would make you play and enjoy the game. The additional thing is that we also noticed the amount of players who play from different devices is growing. So the people normally have 1, 2, 3 phones, and they are playing from different ones. They play from phone, they play from PC, they play from tablet. And that means when the player sees the same interface, the players no longer need to think, okay, what do I press now? How do I turn off the volume? How do I put autoplay? So when you have this interface, this is absolutely crucial for, let's call it, entertaining this type of players. It's not a silver bullet, it's not a step to success, but it is a major thing to avoid any pitfalls. And I do agree, I do not understand providers that just say, okay, we're just scrapping some of the devices because we don't want to support that. That doesn't make sense. In Asia, especially in China, there are abundance of the old devices. So when we test the games, we actually make sure it's run on something like forgotten Internet Explorer. Okay, it is forgotten, but hey, version 7.5, yeah, it works smoothly. Before that, not our technical team had that, but yeah. So to have this ability to be across all platforms in a as possible way, as best way as possible, is crucial to entertaining the players, and let's say in additional ways.
Okay, so we've heard a lot about, from aggregator side being in the sweet spot. We've heard from the developer side who is supporting us dinosaurs who still use desktops. Thankfully, I hope other providers who are here can take this into account. Don't leave us who are desktop users, especially my mom, behind. And so from the operator side here, pitfalls, there's a ton of them. I can literally talk the whole day and tell you about them. But we are almost out of time. We've got about 10 minutes left. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more, and then we can give some closing statements, and we can open it to the floor. So for me, this past 2 days, this past 3 days actually, a lot of delegates I've spoken to, they are mostly European brands. They are from America. They're from other countries outside of Asia. They are interested in coming into Asia, and they are worried. I'm not to say they're worried. They don't know the lay of the land. So my number one thing I would say is Asia is a totally different market. Forget what you do to get things done in Europe. Forget what you do to get things done in America. It works totally different in Asia. And you need to get a local person who has been in Asia, who's done all of this. You can speak to people like Daniel, they can help you. You can speak to Ellen and even Danny as well. They can help you understand better the lay of the land, because it is not easy. It is very difficult, and it's so saturated right now because everyone wants in. It is extremely saturated. How do you stand out from the other operators? And it is difficult, but it is extremely rewarding. That I can tell you. It is extremely rewarding. So yeah, that's from me. Vlad?
Well, to follow that through, yes, you're absolutely correct. So this information that Asia is different is absolutely true. It rings very true. So we've been on the Asian market not very recently, but I can't boast a huge amount of experience in all these bits. But yes, as we progress, there are the way to do business and how the market operates. Those are two separate things. So the business run is completely different from Europe, and that you have to take into account. Even though Asian trends sometimes follow the European one, but those are trends only. When you dissect them, when you look deeper into it, you see that even though on the surface level it's the same, deeper down it's completely different. Yeah, and then I know you've experienced it yourself. Yeah,
so everyone assumes, it's the same. It's the same. Oh,
no. Yeah, so and that's what's on. But passing on to Daniel.
Yeah, so actually, last thoughts. Asia is not just different from Europe. Different countries in Asia are different. Just because you're successful in China doesn't mean you can make a cent in India. And I've learned that the hard way as a provider in the past. And it's different. And the problem, if you come from Europe or the West, is you just seem to think Asia is one country, which is not. Right?
Yeah, you're right. I should have said that as well. Yeah.
And even if you just cross the border from Malaysia to Thailand to Cambodia, you might think Southeast Asia is the same. No. If you have to come down to drill down, it might be even different provinces have different ways of doing things in different countries. And it's how localized you want to get. But to just lump Asia as Asia, it's a very big mistake, because even Asia, within different countries, function very differently. Payment solutions are different, affiliates are different, game preferences are different. Indians, they don't play slot games. The Japanese and Koreans are mature slot markets. They understand all the features. So you can't just say, oh, this game will work in Asia. Which part of Asia will it work in?
Funny part that in Asia, actually, it's also backward. They consider Europe just one huge country. And I have a lot of friends. It's like, this weekend I went to Europe. Fantastic. Have you been to London, Paris, Rome? Hello? Yeah, that's that.
The biasness goes both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
So it's very easy. You just think of the food in the different countries. Like Daniel was just saying, Malaysia, once you cross the border into Thailand, it's a totally different beast. From Thailand, you cross into Cambodia, it's a totally different beast. So don't assume that all of these markets is Asia. It will work fine. I'll just throw one set of games and it will work. It's not. You're doomed for failure. And so going down to some questions, there's only one question at the moment in the Hoover app, which, hopefully later some more people will have. Okay, so the question is, how has internet marketing contributed to the success of Asia online gaming for the past few years? From Danny. No, it's not from Danny. It's from one of our delegates, Muksik Ahmadi. I'm sorry if I butchered that. What are your thoughts?
Well, from my side, I can say that as provider, we do not as much go to the B2C promotions. That's the thing, that's what we arrange through you guys as operators, because we generally put part of our hope into you that you know what you're doing.
So if we fail, you fail.
Yes, effectively. So if you fail, we fail as well. So the only digital advertisement that we do is generally to attract new business, to retain business as yourself. But B2C player things, of course, there are reviews, there are the affiliates. Actually, this is the fourth link that we're missing here, affiliates. Those are the primarily benefiters of digital advertisements. Mm-hmm. For ourselves is not so much. For us is still good old networking, and just expos and sitting here is also a part of advertisement, of course. Mm-hmm. So from my standpoint, it's not so much, but I'm also curious to hear Daniel's opinion.
Yeah, me too.
I think most of the marketing is usually done by the operator. Yeah. But I want to give credit to a friend who's not here. A friend of me, actually, Pragmatic Play. So I competed head-on with Pragmatic Play in the earlier days when I was in Habanero. And they did what is considered a underground marketing, where they got YouTubers, Twitch celebrities to talk about Pragmatic Play game. Because they were, in the early days, were still an unknown entity in Asia. And they did a groundswell where players are asking the operators for this game because they've seen the YouTube videos, the viral marketing videos,
that's right.
And the operators are then asking for the provider. So there is a possibility, and Pragmatic did it very well, so kudos to him. Credit where credit is due. You'll see did well on that. And I was just ashamed that I didn't follow suit when I was in Habanero. But it could be done. It's a bit on the gray side, because your videos on YouTube will probably be taken down within 24 hours, but...
Well, there are ways around that. But
but there are ways around that. But that means that from a provider point, you could still do viral local marketing. And it's been done before, and it's been proven to be successful. Look at how big Pragmatic is right now in Asia.
Does QTech offer marketing ideas or some tips to operators itself on how to push a particular provider?
What we do is we share intelligence. Mm-hmm. So we have over 1,000 plus brands that are live and active. We've got 60 to 80,000 players concurrent at any one point in time. So we can actually share some data with you on what providers are good, what game categories are good in which region. And like I said, not all Asia is the same. What works in China and might not work in India, what works in India will not work in Indonesia. So you tell us which market you're going into. Mm-hmm. We can scrub out the list and say, these are the top providers, these are the top game categories that you should be pushing, and these are the top campaign models that you should be doing, whether it's a deposit bonus, whether it's a price drop, that sort of thing. Different markets respond differently. We've got to sign last 10 minutes.
So like I said, you are basically in the Goldilocks zone, in that sweet spot to actually help new operators and even old operators like me. And I will tell Daniel, we are going into XXX country, help us out a bit. And then Daniel will say, okay, come, let's go for a drink. Let me talk. Okay. So from a B2C side, as an operator, internet marketing has helped us the most, obviously. There is lots of gray areas. Obviously, everyone knows Black Hat and all of that, but there's a lot of methods of doing PPC on Google and Facebook and whatnot. And there are all ways around that. But they will be taken down. And when they're taken down, you lose a bit of capital, but you might have a little bit of ROI. At the moment, internet marketing that everyone tends to think really super works is using influencers and celebrities and whatnot. But governments are also slowly catching on to this method. Like in India, some top Bollywood celebrities were promoting gambling brands. They were brought to court and things like that. So governments are not getting stupid. They're getting very much smarter. They're catching on all of these techniques. So it is very much a cat and mouse. Operators like us have to figure out methods how to be a step ahead and how to not poke the bear, how to be on nice terms with everyone and still yet be profitable and yet be successful. And it's really, really helped, bottom line.
Speaking about similar terms to Europe, actually, as you well aware that Europe has been more and more increasingly regulated and in advertisement department as well. So they are slapping on the wrist absolutely atrociously, and the providers as well. The providers get half, if not 70% of the blame, and that is a problem. Yeah, that we've got more than one question to ask from what the operator was doing. But the thing here is, if Asia is also following that path down the increasing regulations, I think this digital advertisement is also going to slowly die out as it is dying out in Europe.
Right.
And the problem is that it really decreases the gray area. It starts from legal and white and hardly working to extremely effective and black, but then you get slapped on the wrist. So that is the downside of regulation. If there is going to be a smart regulation in Asia, which would be absolutely fantastic, and fingers crossed that will happen, it would be good. Because, you know, if you cut down on the black area, that's fantastic. If you just remove everything and have some weird conditions, some weird restrictions like, okay, you are no longer allowed to picture a person with a cigar. Why? Because I have no bloody idea, but that's how the regulations sometimes work. So yeah, that is stupid, and you can agree that this is stupid. And just because of that, okay, we are going to secretly promote a person with a cigar. Bloody hell. Yeah, so yeah, that's how it is.
Cool.
Are there any questions from the floor?
Yes, any questions from the floor, please? Dov.
First, good job. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, man.
Thank you very much, guy. I think you shouldn't have a bottle of whiskey and keep going for 5 hours. Thank you. Now I call you Bavesh or BP now?
Yeah.
BP is better. I would like first invite Daniel to stay because we have the next panel. And I think I was going to jump on the internet, of course, because I'm an affiliate. And so I don't want to go to too much question because I think we can answer.
Yeah, we can talk about it more later as well.
So
yeah.
Daniel, if you want to stay, please stay with us. I think Alex, we can maybe go, or maybe someone has a question in the audience.
Any questions? Free consultation?
Absolutely
Because
free. Provider, operators, aggregators.
Because of course we have the structure, so you have providers, aggregators, operators. The payments is very important. Your CS is very important. But if you don't have traffic, what do you do, guys? Because the player has the money. So here we come, the affiliates. I know most of the operator in Asia doesn't like affiliates. In Europe, since 2005, even 2000, we have even the LAC is really the best between, so it's Alex Pratt, is operators and affiliates, and all the affiliates show up, no problem. Here in Asia, I was expecting in the last 5-6 years to see more affiliates coming, but it's very difficult. So we saw them maybe yesterday, some of them, and it's very localized still. We don't have like Catena Media in Europe, where you go with them and you have already 5 or 6 countries, which is what I try to do with my company, to have already 4. But that we can talk about it here. But please, open the triangle and add a square to put the affiliate marketing inside would be great. But
I think the affiliate needs to be addressed by the operator.
Yeah.
But from my point of view is I think with the very gray nature of online gaming in Asia, having an affiliate is actually, affiliates are usually very localized, different affiliate methods and different channels in different country. And BP can probably expand on that.
Yeah, so a little bit, in the beginning of my career, I was an affiliate as well. So now I'm on the operator side, so I know both sides of the coin. I know what the problems were as an affiliate, what is the problems that as an operator as well. But affiliates, yes, I really, really agree with you, Dov, that there is no like big entities in affiliates-wise in Asia. I think it's because it's still a bit taboo. It is still a very sensitive topic. While the younger generations, the new generations are more open up to it, we still have a lot of dinosaurs in the government and in the authority positions. So they view it as negativity. And so therefore, a lot of people, when they say, I want to form a company to do affiliate marketing for online casino, it is still very taboo. The government may keep an eye on you. Previously, there was this affiliate summit in Bangkok.
affiliate world, yeah.
Yeah, affiliate world. A lot of affiliates from Europe and around the world all came. But then when I contacted my operator friends in Thailand, none of them went. None of them. And I was like, why? Because if we go,
You can catch up.
they can catch us.
Yeah.
And all of these events, don't forget, there are cameras, there are CCTVs and everything. You are recorded. Going to an affiliate summit, although it is masked as affiliate summit, everyone just knows it's about online gambling. And you're a Thai person going to this place, the cops is going to keep an eye on you, and that's where you can get into trouble. So yeah, it's still very taboo, it's still very sensitive. That's why Asian affiliates, if they are an affiliate, they tend to keep quiet. That's why I really wish more people would be like Dov, where they are pushing it and promoting it. And yeah, we can talk about more of that as well later.
I mean, at the affiliate world, this 95% is more e-commerce side, shop, and so on. I was there, and you have a lot of Israeli, where it's like more media buying and so on, and they are connected usually to all the operators coming from Playtech and so on. So they are looking for this kind of traffic, but of course is not there. But you have the casino, but not the affiliates.
That's right. That's right.
If you want, we can jump, Alex, and we go.
Are there any other questions in the meantime? Oh, we have one from Danny over there, who should actually join the Malaysian Tourism Board and promote Malaysia. By the way, I'm also from Malaysia, so I when Danny was talking about Malaysia, everything, I totally agree with all of that.
So just now you were saying about a taboo, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. What about adult website? There are so many traffic.
You
being
presented
generated.
this question already, right? In
Yeah.
Hufa.
So I'm just jumping the.
Okay. If you're jumping
Yeah.
ahead, adult is
Because
how do I,
you said taboo, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now a lot of traffic from online gaming is being generated from adult website.
That's right.
So what's your take on this?
Everyone watches porn lah. Please lah, don't act innocent lah. I mean, it's day 3. I'm very laid back right now. I'll be very honest. Everyone watches porn. Don't try and bullshit yourself. Don't try and bullshit yourself thinking that your players don't do that. I can tell you that as an operator itself, we have multiple projects, and each project has its own adult channel, its own adult traffic. And we get a lot of traffic players from that. It's a very, very good thing. Adult, everyone does it behind doors, but it is a very lucrative marketing channel if done right. Because now websites like X videos and all of that, they are also cracking down. They've always cracked down on this sort of things. So you have to be smart if you want to tap into the adult network for the Asian traffic. So yeah, it's taboo, but everyone knows, everyone does it, and it's a very, very good channel.
Well, to add a bit more to that, ironically, I do believe that in Asia, stigma of Stigma of gambling is actually more than the stigma of the porn websites, to be completely honest. And some people have more confidence to say if there will be some specific exhibitions and bring to that, they will be not as afraid to show up as they would be afraid to show up to the affiliate exhibition.
Yes, yes,
yeah. That's the irony here. In Europe, you probably have it backwards, but in Asia, you would have it like this.
Yeah. I mean, in China, when I was in China for a few years, I was extremely shocked when you could find adult shops everywhere, selling all those toys and everything. It's such a taboo subject, but no, you can see all of this everywhere. But yeah.
I think from the provider side or the aggregator side, we see a increase in demand for sexy life dealer. Yeah, and I think that whole sex sells, it's still
it still works in Asia.
right? And
it still works here.
And it's really sold in the last 3 years. Like we've seen providers that no one has ever heard of, live dealer providers like AE, which exploded with their sexy baccarat. Everybody needs them. So sex sells.
Yeah, so that's a free tip as well for you guys who are thinking of coming Asian market. So,
but for the sex porn industry, don't expect more than so from the clicks to deposit, first deposit 1%. Then if you have a VIP player, you get lucky, your expenses on the ROI is okay, and but 1% usually is the same as the ROP we have done in 2010. But he went higher with the COVID, and only fun, strip shot, all this one is a little maybe, but still SEO, Google Ads the best for the commercial rate.
We've got some very good, if anyone is confused right now, the next session, the next panel itself, we've got even more industry experts that we were talking about marketing wars, quest of Asia affiliate, which Dov and everyone else is going to be contributing. So I think we may not be taking a break at all. We'll just jump into it, seeing that we're kind of in the groove. We've got lots of questions for this, so just give us a few minutes to just set up, because Dolph is standing there. I really pity him.
So please help me thank an amazing panel for their candid answers. Thank you, Daniel.